remember they had the last one up and down Main Street. I can remember that. I got to see the circus.
Sorry. I can't stop it. Okay.
I hope I don't bounce your head.
Well, I think I'll watch for I guess
I'm going to move it
Like we
to
got a good group
do
here.
my itch.
We're going to talk about the
I
bet I
Granddaughters
took lunch
Circus.
See what?
Did I teach your Sheriff?
Guinea sense.
All right. The Bell Brothers Circus was a three-ring circus from Geneva, Nebraska. It operated for 4 years from 1943 to 46.
I don't want to bump your
Before
head.
that, approximately for 6 years, it was named the Ewalt Amusement Company.
Hello.
Tom and Helen decided to sell the circus in 1946 due to a polio outbreak when people couldn't gather in crowds.
Yeah, I think, because I don't want to hit her. What? What?
We took some notes back in 2016. 4 of the 6 grandchildren were present, and so these are some notes from that interview with Kay. Do you want to introduce Kay?
This is my mother, Kay Miller.
She's the only original one remaining of the circus. So, my dad, he had a pony act, and he was also in charge of finding the gas for all the vehicles. My grandma, Helen Ewalt, she was in charge of the money and keeping their trailer organized. The admission cost was $1. Children and veterans were free. She wired the money home to Geneva State Bank daily.
Help with their
Tom Ewalt built all of the trailers. There were 10 trucks, and it was his duty to find food for the animals before arriving daily in each town. The trailers were pulled by cars. There were 23 total from the circus crew and family. Dad, or Tom, drove the horse truck, which is a semi. He also was known to drive Ina's truck. Helen drove the truck with the horses. Neil Tucker, after Susie Ewalt Tucker died, she was Grandpa Tom's sister. Neil did a lot, like he was the electrician. He worked with the electrical cords. The leader who drove to the next town was also Uncle Neil Tucker. There was a trailer designated specifically for the cook who prepared the food for the family and circus staff. The poster guy distributed the posters and was called the advance man. His name was Camel Dutch. I believe he was from Milligan, maybe? The only one that Grandpa Tom trusted was Camel Dutch. He was also the elephant guy. Pete was in charge of the horses. Gigi Engesser, she had a horse act at the circus. There was 3 families and extra individuals. There was newspaper coverage that was needed and billboard tasks to be taken care of for each town. Regarding turnover, Kay was asked about that. There was not a big turnover because it was seasonal. The elephant was kept in the shop just north of the post office in Geneva on a chain, and that chain is still there today, embedded in the cement. Grandpa, Al Ewalt, was Tom's dad, and he went along with the circus too, even though he had a well and windmill business up until 1947 that he owned and operated from Geneva. The months of May through the first part of September is when they traveled with the circus. Because there was no running water back in the 30s and early 40s. While traveling on the road those 4 to 5 months, the circus crew used sponge baths for their entire bathing during the summer. A tent was owned with another guy Grandpa knew. They pounded steaks by hand and then built a powered steak driver. Ina pulled up all the steaks. Once the elephant ate too much popcorn, so she developed a stomachache. It took 5 gallons of medicine by a vet to get her well. There was no air conditioning, obviously. The circus left about 7 a.m. each morning from each town, and it was about 25 to 30 miles to the next place. Upon their entrance, they would parade through the town and then spend only 1 day at each town. They set up and tore down each day from each town. 2 shows were given each day, 7 days a week with no evening show on Sundays. Ina the elephant would help set up the tents. Grandpa had Freddie. He was a rhesus monkey. He was greenish brown in color. They had a magician act, clowns, and a calliope that played music. There was a pipe organ that was air-driven. It was March of 1943 when Ina was brought to Geneva, and she was 60 years old when she arrived in the United States from a London zoo. When Grandpa ordered her, it was the best kept secret because nobody knew she was coming, not even Grandma. So she showed up. Surprise! You can imagine the post office people on that truck pulled up because they live right next door. Anyway, she lived to be 95 years old. How about that?
Here's a picture of Mom standing in front of Ina. She died in Oklahoma. Grandpa sold her after the circus was over, and then she died in Oklahoma at the age of 95. Can you believe Grandma would let Mom stand in front of that? I can't.
There was a lot of discussion about it, I'm sure.
She didn't know about it. That was probably what it was.
This blown up. It kind of tells the story of what they did. This is their last year on the road, 1946, but they started in April. April 28th, they started in Geneva. They go to the fairgrounds and do their act out there, and then they leave town. So they covered 9 states, 111 towns that summer. So some of the states were Kansas, Colorado, Nebraska, Wyoming, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, Minnesota. That's it? Yeah, that should be 9 of them. But I counted them all, and that's 111, so
Wow.
they were pretty busy. They did that
It's a lot
for
of
4 years.
Startup tear downs.
Yeah, every single day.
In
Age
3
10.
months or 4 months?
3.5 months. Usually they went to the first part of September, but they quit early because of the polio outbreak that year.
Could have started out west and they went circles around.
They went, yeah, north because it was cooler, obviously. You can't go much further south in Kansas, doesn't look like, so.
Did they ever miss a show because of vehicle trouble?
I'm sure they had problems.
Mom, do you remember? Did you ever miss a show because there was vehicle problems, like something broke down? Do you remember?
Oh, could have. Could have, maybe once.
Especially since there were so many vehicles.
Yeah.
Would you say there was 23? 23 trailers pulled by cars, the people involved in the circus, the crew and the family, you know.
This is a picture of them leaving town, leaving Geneva, and that's how many vehicles that they
Wow.
had.
Wow.
Quite a caravan.
Yeah. This was Mom standing in front of Ina again. And this is the tent that they would put up.
They started out with a smaller one, then they eventually got the 3-ring tent.
The elephant would go with them, right? How did they take? It's like a giant.
Truck.
Oh,
Yeah.
Who did I say drove that truck? It was Grandpa, wasn't it? I can't imagine if she shifted or laid down.
Yeah.
Speaking of laying down, this is Grandpa laying under her.
That was one of the acts. He trusted her enough that would allow her to lay on top of him.
And this is Uncle Bob Ewalt, and he had a pony act.
That's my dad. And he was 17 when the circus ended. He thought that was his career for the rest of his life. That's what he told me. His grandpa sold it then, and so he went to the army.
This outfit was Mom when she would walk on a ball and walk on a teeter-totter.
oh.
And we haven't tried it lately, but she's been able to, well, not walk on the ball, but she's been able to juggle all her life. And so, yeah, we'll
My
have to.
dad would buy oranges and apples, and
You don't
we'd have
think
to
you
do
can
it at
juggle
home all
anymore?
the time.
Well, not
Really?
very good.
Yeah. This is an aerial view of the tent.
Wow.
What year was that?
1946. This,
Right out there.
yeah,
Oh, at the fairgrounds?
Uh-huh.
yeah.
They'd always
Are
start
these two
there
related?
every year. And I think that was free here, I'm not sure. Right.
And then, of course, this was the outfit that she wore when she was with the elephant.
Okay.
She would
Thank you.
always ride in on Ina, on Ina's
on her
head.
head.
And Ina, well, Ina and she had the same kind of jewelry on, and you called that grand entry. And Grandma Ewalt made all of the costumes. What Penny's wearing was Grandpa Ewalt's.
Yeah, this is my Grandpa Tom. So interesting. He had some black ones that were tails. He liked the tails of the bow tie, didn't he?
So we talk a lot about Grandpa, but this person right here was the heroine, his wife Helen. She was the woman behind it all and kept it all organized, and she was kind and gentle and had to put up with a lot of his ideas.
Because the animals would trample her flowers and everything, right?
Yes. So, so God bless her. This is Albert, and this was Tom's father. Nora was Tom's
Her
mother.
real name was Ellen, but she went by Nora.
Nora,
her middle
yeah.
name.
And then Susan and Tom were brother and sister. Susan did not have any children, so she cared for Uncle Bob and Mom
Like her own.
Yeah, like her own. So.
How old was your mom when she was in the circus?
Let's see.
40. Yeah, do the math. She was 34. So
Interesting. 10-ish.
Yeah. 12 when they quit. Yeah. Dad was 17 when they quit. So, Grandpa went on to do some other things. Of course, he purchased the Rialto Theater. Now it's Rialto 2. It's changed hands a few times. He restored antique cars. He liked to do Model A's and Model T's. He had a lot of those in the shop building right next to the post office. He was a Winnebago mobile home dealer for a while. And then he was the bus driver for fourth graders that attended the Shrine Circus.
And he used to, well, some of you probably remember,
If you were the right
he'd go
age.
in the front and he'd do somersaults between the two bars, and somebody at the last group said
Charlie
that
Barber told me this. I'd never heard this story, but he would walk on his hands on the bus in the aisle, all the way up and all the way back on his hands with his feet in the air, and the kids would be screaming, you know. I never saw him do that, did you? No. Anyway. What else did he do? He was on the city council. He was master of ceremonies for a lot of Geneva parades. 1967 was, of course, the Centennial Parade. And 1983 was his last parade. And he had a lot of the costumes that fit for being master of ceremonies. So. Then he built Mom's Cafe. Mel's, you know.
Hilltop.
Hilltop Cafe. They built, my dad and Tom built it in, I think, 1952.
What year was that?
I got a picture. I think it's around 1952 in that area.
I did not know that.
Yeah. I know all kinds of things we don't know.
So this year we donated some of the circus items to the museum. So if you have the opportunity, would love to have you come up there. Costumes, and there's one of the round ring that Ina stood on when
Have
she
a
would
block.
do her performance.
The horses put their feet on there too.
And then there's we have a video that Margie, my brother Max's daughter Margie, put together while she was in college. And so that runs on a TV, so you could see more of the story. Rest of the story, Paul Harvey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Educational TV came out and interviewed Kay and Dad back in 2002 or 2000. So it's on there too. It's on Channel 12. Anyway.
Any questions that you might have?
So, Jan, is your outfit from the original circus?
No. No, it is not.
I said, what do you want to be, Jan?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she would never tell me.
Guess what? Did I say that Grandma made the costumes? Okay. Sorry, after the third time you forget what you do say and what you don't say.
She made a lot of the shirts for the guys. Too.
Yes.
All the silk. They look like silk. So you can see those up there. We had them all dry cleaned. They were in bags for 75 years, zipped up. So
What other animals did they have on the circus?
they had horses, they had ponies, they had dog. They had a dog act. It was pretty
Right.
good. They
The
had
monkey.
monkey, llamas, elephant. Had a black lynx. I had read about this in the paper that had escaped during the night, and it was black. Well, the sheriff came out and killed it in the ditch. So,
Oh, shoot.
yeah. But most of his animals were more tame.
So they wintered the elephant by the post office, and the rest of the animals went out to your farm then?
Most of the animals were out there. We were always out at the farm.
Was it during the winter, Mom, when you weren't on the road with them? Was Ina, did she stay in town or did she go out to the farm?
No, she stayed in town. In
And then
the big barn.
and every day she'd go for a walk.
Out on the streets. They just
In the
let her walk
streets.
the brick streets. That was her daily walk. People trusted her.
They just put a blanket over her, and they go for a walk. And a wonderful man who took care of her.
Camel Dutch.
Camel Dutch, yeah.
He loved her, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
She was just, when we were driving here today, she says, oh, that Ina. She was looking at the picture and she says, that Ina, she was so kind and gentle. For being how thousands of pounds she was.
Well, she had some days that were,
She was kind of cranky.
Uh-huh.
Well, we all do. That's how that goes.
Aside from you said the balancing on the with the ball, what other kind of acts did you have for like with the people? Because I know you said you had the animals, but was there any other kind of things with?
That would have been with the Ewalt Amusement Company prior to the circus. They had the dog act where there was a dog that went up, climbed a wire, clear up high,
Oh,
and then fell down in a park of some sort. And
The dog jumped.
he climbed up a ladder all by
The dog
itself.
climbed up a ladder and then jumped over and went into a blanket or something. And then Grandpa built a Ferris wheel. And if you see the picture or the movie up at Fairmont, it shows him crawling up around it as it was going around. He was crawling and yes.
oh,
So
So how does the movie work at Fairmont? Do they?
there's a
it's just in
TV
the-
there.
There's
and you
instructions.
just-
There's a
Yep.
flat screen TV. It tells you how to do
Oh,
it.
okay.
It's usually closed, so you have to get a hold of the librarian.
Yes, absolutely.
where is the museum in Fairmont?
It's on Main Street, right across from the library.
Okay,
And she can unlock it for you. It's not open all the time. But,
okay,
and the circus room is clear in the back on the main floor.
okay, cool.
So like the outfit you've got on, who wore that? Who wore the
Grandpa Tom.
some small
I
belt?
can't even button it up. So he was thin. He was probably about my height and probably even thinner.
Well, I kind of, those pictures you can kind of see he has outfits like that on.
thanks for saying hi.
He must have been pretty wiry. So then he did that handstand stuff, and then did he do anything else with that? Do you know?
If you go, there's a YouTube video out there too. It's a 2-minute video. You Google Ewalt Amusement Company.
Great.
It shows him climbing the Ferris wheel he built on the outside as people are sitting in it. Climbs it all the way around as it's moving. So,
I think that video is also on the Geneva History
oh, is it?
website, I think.